Oregon has long been a land of high adventure, but few modern-day sports enthusiasts hold a candle to one of the oldest Daredevil stories in Oregon. Hi there, Grant McComey here, your host for Travel Oregon's Grant's Getaways. And this week we travel to Silver Falls State Park, but in 1928, where we find an adventurer that is remarkable. Join me as we learn more about Oregon's original Daredevil. When it comes to daredeviling, Al Fawcett was one of a kind.
He never wore a life jacket, a helmet. There was no safety equipment back in these days, you know.
Fawcett was a logger who tackled gritty, dangerous work in Northwest forests, but soon he figured out another way to make a buck in the great outdoors.
By the time he became a daredevil, his wife, she'd had enough, and she promptly divorced him, and I think he kind of said, well, I'll show you. I'm going to really be somebody finally.
Fawcett ran some of the region's tallest waterfalls from inside wooden canoes or tiny canvas boats. According to his great-grandson Guy Fawcett, Daredevil Al was a bigger-than-life character suited to giant waterfalls. Newsreel film captured his runs, including a death-defying ride over Willamette Falls.
Willamette Falls back in the 20s was a very treacherous falls, and many people had been killed going over those falls.
In March of 28, Willamette Falls was swollen from winter rain and snow. It wasn't much of a drop, but it was a huge frothy cauldron of bone-chilling cold.
When Al went over Willamette Falls, the boat actually disappeared in the envelope inside that water. The paper said for 6 minutes. And when it appeared below the falls 6 minutes later, upside down, floating and bobbing in the whitewater, my grandpa knew he was dead.
Al wasn't even scratched. Man, he was just warming up.
Managed to stay alive, and they couldn't believe it.
His next run was even bigger at South Falls, the crown jewel of what is now Silver Falls State Park, 177 feet top to bottom.
It was in all the papers. It was in the Seattle papers that he was preparing to do this, the Portland. I mean, all the papers would promote him. He was quite a self-promoter, Al was. That was one thing he was really skilled at, is getting his name out there.
His daredeviling led sponsors like Hirsch Weiss, a Portland canvas tent company, to build him a boat, and Columbia Knit gave him a sweater for warmth.
This was the big one, and of course everybody was scared, that he might not make it. Al was sure he was going to make it.
Thousands of folks paid $1 apiece to line the steep banks to see what happened next. Daredevil Al's plan was simple enough. He built a ramp out over the edge of South Falls, and then further up the creek he built a dam. When the time was right, his men would bust open that dam and the water would whoosh out and carry him over the falls. Sounded like a simple plan. His safety measures were simple too. Fill the canvas bag with rubber inner tubes to soften the blow.
Looks like a rat building a nest. You can see the sides moving around. He gets these inner tubes where he wants them. He pops his head up out, fixes his hair a little bit. He always had a little bit of a hair problem, and said, I'm set.
But the dam didn't work, and the big rush of water never hit. Instead, 2 men pushed him over the falls.
And it hit hard, like a belly flop at the bottom.
Film footage shows the boat arcing into the pool and then landing upside down.
He didn't have a lot of strategy and a lot of planning, but he had a lot of gusto.
But would gusto, guts, or sheer luck be enough?
Al was unconscious. He'd been knocked unconscious from the fall. And just within a few moments, he woke up. He sprained both ankles, fractured his right hand, broke a number of ribs, and suffered some severe internal injuries. He got hurt bad.
Carried on the arms of the crowd, Al managed a feeble wave and was rushed to the hospital. But the worst pain was yet to sting. All the money, Al's big Oregon payday, disappeared with his manager, never to be seen again.
Al never received a dime for this.
The missing $5,000 was a princely sum for the king of Oregon daredevils, who stared down death from hundreds of feet overhead and held on to a sobering secret to his very end. Al Fawcett, the first Oregon daredevil, was afraid of water.
He really wasn't even a swimmer.
You can learn more about Al Fawcett, Oregon's original daredevil, as well as Silver Falls State Park, right here on the Travel Oregon website. So until next week, get out here and explore the great Oregon outdoors and let Travel Oregon be your guide. For Travel Oregon, I'm Grant McComey.